Hi, welcome to Live Signing. I'm Mallory Laura, and I am here with John Cena.
That's me.
That is you. There you are, John. So great to see you.
Oh, nobody can see me.
Okay. Well, I know that trick. Nobody can see me either. They can just see the background of my attic office, as I say. Well, you just had a new book come out yesterday.
Yes, I did.
Got a copy?
Elbow Grease Fast Friends. And we are busy signing away those books. This is a signed copy of said book. So very happy to be here to do this event to help connect young readers to Elbow Grease Fast Friends.
Well, would you like to tell our readers a little bit about elbow grease?
I absolutely would. So many of you know, and if you're being first introduced to elbow grease and the story of elbow grease starts with gumption. And gumption is perseverance or grit or the ability to never give up. Now, you may know that those words mean a lot to me, and that's kind of the origin of this story. So elbow grease is a story of elbow grease and his family, his brothers in the monster truck derby, and their friend Mel, the mechanic, who keeps them maintained. And this is the third installment. Elbow Grease has been through journeys of perseverance and self-worth and the quality of teamwork. And now with Elbow Grease Fast Friends, as you can see, we are taking it one step beyond the family, and we are beginning to introduce friends into the Elbow Grease world. So you will meet the ever capable Chopper, who is an unbelievably talented electric motorcycle, and she is just incredible in the things she can do. She can design her own demolition course. She can outperform the strongest, the fastest, the smartest, and the most diligent. And Elbow Grease and his brothers aren't really sure how to take that. So the book is, as with all of the Elbow Grease, the book is a wonderful dive into the world of imagination of monster trucks with personalities. But at the same time, should you choose to lean into topics like frustration or low self-worth or judging a person or someone by how they look, or there's a lot more to dig in there should you choose it. But I think what's great about the Elbow Grease series is the books are a fun read. It's not really hitting somebody over the head with moral intention, but there's a lot of subject matter should you choose to want to lean into it as a parent, as a teacher, or as a young reader. So that's what I like a lot about the series, and I'm really, really psyched for this book. Mallory, we spoke offline about how this is our favorite book, but you can't get to this chapter in the story without introducing the characters and why they exist. But the introduction of Chopper and Chopper's story, and it just really makes for another great chapter in the Elbow Grease saga.
Yeah, I was going to say, I love how funny these books are. But they really, like, I crack up every time I read them. The speech bubbles, the little asides. There's so many fun things for parents when you're reading along, and for things for kids to find funny. And they're really the celebration of the teamwork and the friendship. But I love that it's the idea that those don't come without hard work. To have those, to have a good team, to have a good friend, it's not that everything's perfect all the time. And, for kids, it's so great and really pretty sophisticated for them to be thinking about these things. But I think they're really ready for it.
And I think that's the intent. It's to introduce these conversations and start talking about concepts like failure. And failure truly is the best way for us to learn. And perseverance is really an important part of overcoming failure. But then there's also words like jigamabobber, which is one of my favorite words in Fast Friends. So it really is a great combination of a fun, imaginative world with, like I said, it's just, there's a lot of substance should you choose to lean into it as a reader.
Yeah, it's very real. It's like they're goofy trucks, but those are real feelings that they are having.
Real life situations that if a young reader hasn't gone through yet, that they will certainly go through on their journey in life. So you might as well lean into the conversation now.
And maybe some grown-ups can learn things too.
Maybe, just maybe.
Mm-hmm. That's what I always say. So I'm going to go into some of the questions that people have posted.
Let's do it.
So from Noellen in Enrico, Virginia, she says, "What inspired you to write children's books?"
Noellen, actually, it was recognizing a large portion of the audience in WWE. WWE, the people who are watching and paying attention to me now, if you've watched the program before, every time I come out, there is a people sing along with my song, and there are a lot of people who say John Cena sucks. And these books were generated for the people not saying that, because when we began to look at the audience and certainly take a deeper look at the analytics, you could see that younger, specifically like 3 to 9 and 10-year-olds and families were gravitating towards my character, the performances, and the messaging. And now that my WWE career is not as prevalent, I'm not on as many shows as before, I wanted an ability to take the message of grit and perseverance, which is literally an essential tool to success and survival in any time, in any situation, and be able to send that message. So I joined with Random House, and we came up with this whimsical, imaginative world on my passion for cars and trucks and things that go. And we kind of created Elbow Grease and his fun family.
So that ties right into another question. Do you like monster trucks? And that is from Teresa in Missouri.
Teresa in Missouri, great question. I love anything that has an engine and you can put in drive or reverse. So yes, I do love monster trucks, but I also wanted to put myself in the mind of a young reader. And as a young reader, I remember I loved large mechanical vehicles, albeit monster trucks or like construction equipment or big buses or fire trucks. So technically, as a 43-year-old, I do fancy a good 2-door British coupe. But I also want to send this messaging and have it attached to young readers. So given the context, I thought monster trucks was the best forum to send the message. I love anything automobile, and this kind of harkens me back to things that really resonated with me as a child. I can still remember Richard Scarry's Cars and Trucks and Things That Go. So that was kind of the basis of how we created the world.
I always love hearing you talk about Richard Scarry because he was part of my childhood too, and reading those books. And I have a brother 2 years younger and 12 years younger, so I also read them to both my brothers a whole lot.
Yes.
So it's those, we want Elbow Grease to be a classic, just like that. We're going to make it happen right here. David from Fort Worth, Texas says, what's harder, writing a children's book, acting, or wrestling?
Well, my name is on the children's book, so I can officially write a children's book. If you talk to some folks, they will chant loudly that I can't wrestle. And if you talk to some critics, they'll say that I've never acted a day in my life. So I would say writing a children's book is absolutely the hardest because I've been able to prove that I can do it.
There you go. I have to say, I have watched Playing with Fire many times because I have 3 kids, and that's one of the movies that actually spans all 3 of them from 15 to 9. And every time I'm on there, I'm like, there's John. And I actually feel like that character also does a little bit of what I've heard you talk about when you talk about Elbow Grease and why you wrote it, which is to show sort of that softer side. It's that idea of like, you're not just a tough guy, but that you are a thinking, emotional person. And that's important for everybody to have that part. And so that ties back into that emotional strand.
I couldn't agree more. And thank you very much for watching the movie.
No problem. My pleasure. Let's see. So Carson, who is from Stewart, Minnesota, his mom wrote this for him and says he wants to know how much you like writing books. And then she says her husband wants to know if you've ever considered writing a collaborative book with Bray Wyatt.
Well, Carson, I really do enjoy writing books because I fancy myself a bit of a storyteller. Now, in movies, I get to dress up in a different costume and tell stories. And in WWE, we tell very exciting physical stories. So writing is just another form for me to be creative. And it's really cool because you can make a story and you don't really have to be present, like in the middle of a WWE ring or in front of the camera for a movie, for a reader to enjoy a story. So it's a great form for me to continue to be creative. Would I do a collaborative book with WWE's Bray Wyatt? Well, we kind of told a little bit of a story together at this past year's WrestleMania, and it was an interesting one. So I think we could tell an interesting story. So who knows?
Never say never, right?
I never.
There you go. Joanne from Alberta says, can you please wish Jack a happy 12th birthday?
Joanne, of course I can. Jack, happy 12th. One more year in your teenager. I hope you really enjoy this one.
I was going to say 12 is a great year.
It is.
Yeah. Let's see. I love looking through these questions because I love it, like gives you an insight into what your fans are like, John. Here's an interesting one. So if this book reflects you and your brothers, what about your mom and dad?
So I don't think the Elbow Grease universe should have those type of figureheads in it, because I want it to be freewheeling. And parents are providers of guidance and givers of wisdom, and certainly the makers of the rules in many cases. So the Elbow Grease universe is really about these trucks discovering who they are. And I think it goes back to your point about being in tune with our emotions. And I'm not saying that parents prevent you from doing that, but I think the addition of figures of authority in this specific universe, it may take us down a very narrow path. So I really wanted to keep it as freewheeling and as imaginative as possible. You can tell that these awesome trucks have the energy of youth, but they also have the wisdom of kind of knowing who they are. So maybe not yet, but maybe in future installments of the Elbow Grease series, you might meet more of the family.
And Mel, I want to say Mel the mechanic provides a little bit of a wise view occasionally. She comes in, but she's not, she doesn't tell people what to do, but she does sort of like.
Correct. She's the voice of reason, and you're right. She gives sage advice exactly when needed.
Yeah, a little bit of like Jiminy Cricket.
Yes, very much.
Like a little bit of that conscience. Let's see. From San Diego, California, Melissa says from her 7-year-old, he has a question, which is, are you as strong as the Hulk?
Okay. No. The Hulk is a massive superhero who possesses strength that is beyond my capabilities. I'm maybe one of the Hulk's fingers, 2 of the Hulk's fingers. I think I would be as strong as 2 of the Hulk, 3, 5, maybe 5. I'm not sure, but that's I have to concede to the Hulk on that one.
Oh yeah, well, keep up your grit and gumption, and maybe one day you too can be.
Well, honestly, in coming back to Elbow Grease Fast Friends, it's not about being better than anyone else. It's about being the best that you can be. So I may not be as strong as the Hulk, but I'm as strong as I can be.
Or he might be inspiring you the way Chopper inspires.
Yes,
Elbow Grease and his brothers. I actually loved that piece of it because I feel like, a little bit of a spoiler for people. Chopper feels bad that maybe she's just been a little too, she's not really braggy, but she's just done so well and been sort of competitive. And I love that Mel comes in and she's like, you know what? When somebody does better than me, that just inspires me to do better.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's sort of like competition, but in a really healthy way.
Yes, and the real life scenario of like, it is okay if you're not always the best at everything. And if you want to be better at a skill, all it takes is elbow grease.
That is absolutely true. Let's see. I like the readers' questions. I have a whole list of questions too if we run out, but I don't think we will run out of questions.
Okay.
Let's see. Sean from West Babylon in New York. When my sons, Sean and Nicholas, met you at the Strand bookstore last year in New York City, they asked you what your favorite match was that you were in. Their question this time is, what is your favorite match to watch of all time? A match that you weren't in.
My favorite WWE match to watch of all time would have to be a match between Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant in the Pontiac Silverdome for WrestleMania 3, because it was the first time as a young viewer of WWE that I could see exactly how massive the scope of WWE was. There were 93,000 people in an indoor stadium, and I had seen nothing like it as a kid. And absolutely had me hooked. The whole event was a tremendous success and exciting throughout the entire evening. And I really have the memory of that night stuck in my mind. That is absolutely the match that I enjoy seeing the most.
Even when you're talking about it, I can see that you're replaying it in your head,
Yeah.
that it's like really in there. So as long as we're on wrestling, we'll stick to wrestling for a little bit. What is your favorite thing about wrestling?
You know, so I've been in WWE for a long time, and I think I've gone through phases, as we all do. We all evolve and grow. I think initially when I started, it was the ability to stay physical. I had come from playing football, and I was always proud of being in shape and being strong. But then again, in football, you are a member of a team, so you kind of have to interact with your teammates. And I was kind of always the class clown of the team. So not only did I get to be physically active, but I also got to perform a little bit. And now 20 years later, the thing I love most about the WWE is the storytelling and the escapism it provides those who watch. It's very much like a good book. We open the pages of a book to get lost in the contents within the book. And people watch WWE both live before the current situation and on television to sit down and get lost in the experience and provide an escape and maybe provide you with an outlet to exude some emotion. You can boo, you can cheer, you can tell people exactly how you feel. And I often notice being involved in so many performances, especially before the pandemic, this absolute sense of release and euphoria post show, not only with the performers, but with the fans as well. You get all of this excitement out of your system. And afterwards you take a deep breath and you're like, whoa, that was awesome. But your backpack feels a little bit lighter. So it's very much like the escapism of a book. And I just enjoy the storytelling the
most. Speaking of the pandemic and things being different,
Mm-hmm.
Emma from Bedford, England says, how did you keep yourself entertained, or how do you, because it's continuing on, during COVID lockdown?
Well, the lockdown has been different for us all. And I just very early on, rather than ask questions that I did not know the answer to, I accepted the present. And the present was, I need to stay confined and stay within the area that I've kind of carved out for myself. And I think accepting the present was big, because then I said to myself, like, okay, how would you like to spend today? And that's really the approach that I took to every day. And quite honestly, my purpose and ethos is to earn the day. And that was far before the pandemic. So I think waking up every day with the attitude of I'm going to earn this gift that I've been given is a great way to handle 24 hours at a time. And there were some days where I would wake up so lazy, earning the day was being the best lazy person I could possibly be. And there were some days where I was so motivated, earning the day could be trying my hand at cooking or learning a new song on the piano or studying language. And then earning the day could be binge watching a show. Or watching a bunch of movies, or catching up with people via text or via Zoom or virtual conferencing. So as long as I woke up with purpose and with the idea of let's do something today, and it doesn't have to be something that is productive on paper, it actually it really helped me.
I mean, I think it is also sort of all of us have to have gumption and grit to get through this time where you have to be flexible.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of a larger conversation, but this is uncomfortable for us all, no matter your means or your situation or your status or privilege. It is a change in normalcy. And anytime we have a change, it is uncomfortable. And this is a change we don't have a choice in the matter. So it's not like I can stay in my comfort zone. You can't. You have to change your behavior, and all of us have had to change. And I guess I did my best to just kind of accept that really early on.
I was going to say, well, that's probably served you very well.
I've done my best to do my best, and that's also kind of been a mantra that I have through the whole pandemic. Just do your best every day to do your best.
I'm totally with you there. Do you happen to have a copy of Elbow Grease versus Motozilla?
I don't. I have stacks of Fast Friends here.
I don't either, but somebody has written from Iowa that that her nephew, I just have to read this because I think this is so cute. My nephew loves Motozilla. And she said, can you read the page where he's introduced to the arena and the page describing him to Calvin? He gets so excited for that part. And I would love to hear you read it in your best WrestleMania voice.
Man, I just don't. I don't
know.
have it here, and I'm sorry. And not that I don't want to false advertise. I literally have stacks of Elbow Grease Fast Friends here. So because we're signing those all day, but I have stacks of that book. I don't have Motozilla, but I think the takeaway for me is that, oh man, you enjoy it so much, and especially to have a favorite part of a book means you really connect with the story, and that's really special to hear.
I just love hearing that he gets so excited at that introduction, like, oh, it's coming.
Yes.
So let's see. What was your favorite thing about writing this book, Fast Friends?
The favorite thing about writing Fast Friends is coming up with the story, and coming up with a story that you want to be entertaining, but you also want to have messaging, and trying to decide on the characters and what they might look like and their attitude, and just basically answering the question of what's next. And I think the toughest one to write was the first Elbow Grease, because you really have to introduce the world. And then once the world is built and people believe in the vision of the imagination, that's when it gets clever and fun, and all the creative problems that you may have, they're much more fun because it's simply answering the question of what's next. So that was the best thing about writing Fast Friends, is the ability to say, okay, what new challenge do we want this family to go through? And what new challenge do we want each character to go through? And what new character do we introduce? Those are all fun things. And not to say that writing the first installment of Elbow Grease wasn't fun. It just wasn't as easy. Like the next installment of Elbow Grease will be, it'll have a natural feel of progression to it, but it's very difficult without the first step to do that.
Yeah, I was going to say, usually it's the second and third books, you know who your character is.
Yeah.
So you're there. It's, your first book is like making friends with a new person, and you have
crossing your fingers and hope people get it like that. Yes. So you had tremendous success with Elbow Grease, and people understand the universe, so they begin to expect certain traits from certain characters, and it almost kind of crafts itself, and you just tinker with the formula for a little bit to come up with another adventure.
And I love just also that idea that you've built a world, and now who do you bring in? So I love that Chopper could come into this world and make that a bigger world as well.
I agree.
And I also, the use of words, whether it's gumption, just that you always sort of like have something to sort of like sink your teeth into as well. And I think kids love those words.
And they're fun and they're different. And it even that alone, like, what's gumption? And it's okay to say you don't know, because then you go look it up and you find out. And that's reading and learning at the same time. And man, that's a special thing.
And then it becomes part of your vocabulary, and then you have a bunch of 5-year-olds out there being like,
know what gumption?
So also about the book, somebody from Sit Up Kent, which I guess is in the UK somewhere, Leanne has asked, how long did it take you to write the book?
So Leanne, that's a good question. It's a longer process than you think, because it has to do with brainstorming and then refining the brainstorm. And something as simple as particular language, like gumption, or like, do we use jiggamabobber or thingamajig? And just having those discussions of the right words to choose. And because it is a book for young readers, you don't get that many words. You do want to keep it as digestible and simple as possible. And if you've been listening to this, I'd sometimes get on tangents and like to talk a lot and like to write a lot and like to, give a lot of information. So it is a series of checks and balances for me. And then to see the illustrations bring it to life and small tweaks throughout the illustration process, I don't know. It certainly takes at the very least a calendar year to write a book.
Yeah, when you put all those different steps in there, I think people always underestimate. They think, oh, it's short, but there's so much. It's like writing poetry. Like every word counts in a short. In a
Can
piece.
you do it fast? Probably, but this is something that hopefully will be in readers' hands for a long time and leave a lasting impression. So I'd rather take my time and do it in a sense where people can hold on to something they remember.
And I feel like that's when you get people like the nephew who gets goosebumps when he reads that scene.
Yeah.
That happens when you've really worked and crafted it, and really taken every effort you can to make it the best. Totally different topic. Danny from Monroe, North Carolina says, "What is your favorite go-to food?"
Danny, my favorite go-to food when I'm concerned about my health, I would say spinach. I eat a ton of greens. I'm in a huge spinach kick right now. Broccolini is one of my favorites. An enormous garden salad as well. You can add to the mix. When I'm not so worried about being healthy, cookies. Man, cookies. Ice cream used to be on the list, but I've fallen into a cookie phase. I feel like I've just grown into a cookie phase now.
Do you have a favorite kind of cookie?
Recently, I was able to be in the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and their classic gift to guests is a cookie from a bakery called Milk. And they were so kind last night to give me like 5 containers of cookies in the dressing room, and there are none left. And I don't mean 5 cookies. I mean 5 containers of cookies. So at this point, if you took a blood sample, I'm more cookie than man.
Well, maybe you should go eat some spinach.
I think I'm going to have to balance out the scales. There has to be a balance, yes.
I have a 15-year-old who's also a spinach fan, and whenever he feels like he's eaten any kind of junk food, he goes right to spinach. He's like, I had too much of whatever. I have to have some spinach.
I do love it, but it's yesterday was about the cookies.
Yeah, it's all about a balance, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to be all spinach. That's not exciting enough. The cookies add a little.
They do.
It adds a little sweetness. Let's see. Chad from Statesville, North Carolina. Looks like this is from his son. Who was your hero growing up? My name is Jordan, and I'm your biggest fan. I keep trying to get my dad to find a way to meet you one day.
Well, I hope that can happen. I know circumstances are a bit different, but I have really high hopes for everything in the future. So maybe we can make that happen. Hero growing up. From a WWE perspective, I would say Hulk Hogan, just because of the fond memories I have of matches like the one that I described. I remember I was always a really big Don Mattingly fan who played for the New York Yankees, which is really weird because I grew up outside of Boston and was a really big Boston Red Sox fan. So for me to say like, yeah, go Red Sox, but my favorite player is from the Yankees, I might have gotten into a little trouble for that as a young kid in the Boston area. And those are really the only 2 personalities I can remember from the standpoint of being a hero. I think I've had the awesome circumstance of having a ton of great mentors, but those are the only 2 that I would consider heroes at that time, being a young kid.
Now another topic altogether from James in Hamilton, Ohio.
We call cold transition in the biz.
Yep. Why was Ferdinand so dang good?
Well, thank you very much. I give credit there to the animators, Carlos Saldana and his studio. They brought you so many wonderful animated movies, and I was merely the voice of Ferdinand. There was a tremendous cast, and I thought the movie was extremely well done. So I got to lean on the people that actually made the movie. I really was just happy to be a part of it, and I'm glad you liked it.
And that's why it was so dang good.
That's why it was so dang.
You got to do that with the arm gesture there. Let's see. From Maroof in Sheffield, United Kingdom says, do you enjoy reading books? And if so, what kind?
I do enjoy reading books. And currently I'm on a big self-improvement / psychology sort of phase where I've been reading a lot of Brene Brown stuff. I'm actually reading some stuff by Terrence Real right now. And here's another thing. I guess I balance nonfiction and fiction with scripts. So I read a lot of scripts, which are like 110 to 125 page books. A lot. And some are whimsical and filled with imagination, and some not so much, in just my opinion. But that's the cool thing about reading all the material. So I think I find a nice balance between real and imaginative, between reading books that I try to add more value to my life, and then books that satisfy the imagination.
I would say script reading is a challenge too, at least when I've read scripts for various reasons, because it's all dialogue. So you really have to fill in so much with your imagination to picture what it might turn out to be.
It is, and I think that's the fun of it. And as someone who is grateful enough to every once in a while get to perform in front of the camera, I think that's really the fun of it. And that's they leave it open ended for that reason, for a performer to take it and make it their own.
But I always think also, because you've read that dialogue, I think that for I know writers who are also do writing for TV or do writing for movies, and their dialogue is always so great. And so I do feel like, being an actor and reading those, when you read all those speech bubbles in all the Elbow Grease books, like they have that sort of like movie personality to them. Like, so I just feel like they're like those little sound bites that just like.
The books are very presented in scene format. Like you certainly are drawn through the action like a movie or like a TV show.
Yeah. And I've always sort of wondered whether like that combination of reading those scripts and then also working on the books, like they just, all those skills come together in their own way.
Maybe.
Who knows? Okay. Back to total change.
Okay.
Who are your favorite musicians?
Who are my favorite musicians? I just got to talk to Jack Black and Kyle Gass at PulseCon, and they're my favorites. I had to hide my fandom. I'm a huge BTS fan. For those who watched the Tonight Show last night, Jimmy Fallon has a wonderful relationship with BTS, and I was grateful for him kind of connecting us because they acknowledged my existence, and that was super huge. So I'm a pretty big BTS fan. I think as far as other musicians goes, I'm finding, because I'm learning piano, I'm kind of finding appreciation for more piano artists. But I like old bluesy stuff and old country stuff, and like I would say old, because I say this, old hip hop stuff, because I'm old. But yeah, I'm gonna say BTS and Tenacious D right now.
Okay. From Kingsley, Michigan, this comes from Crystal, and she says, Trent, her 10-year-old, says, you can't see me, but I'm severely dyslexic and autistic. Some people say I'm stupid, and it makes me sad. But I'm excited about your books. My mom says I'm special, and me being different is my superpower. What's your superpowers besides being really strong and awesome?
Well, I appreciate those two suggestions on superpower. I work every day to develop my superpower, and I'm glad that you do the same. I try to make my superpower the ability to listen to others, because I think those who call people stupid and call people names and say hurtful things don't necessarily do a really good job at listening to those people. They just make their own conclusions without necessarily listening to their story and maybe the challenges that they're up against. So I really try hard to work on my own superpower of trying the best I can to listen to those around me.
It's a great answer. I felt teary. I because I feel like those are very listening and really seeing people is a superpower. It's a real talent.
It takes work.
It takes work, right? All those things that seem so easy sometimes, again, sort of coming back to elbow grease, that like all of those things take work. It takes work to have the good stuff. If you weren't a wrestler and an actor, what would you be doing for a living? And that's from Christina in Bangor, Maine.
So now that we've transitioned into the hypothetical, if I wasn't involved in WWE or the performing arts, what would I be doing? Well, I'm 43 and I've been involved in these um, lines of work for 20 years. So the hypothetical becomes weird at this point because I don't know any different. I think if I was 1 or 2 years into WWE or just had done my first movie, I might be able to answer that better, but I don't know. Um, the pandemic certainly with the stop down of everything got me to think about the things I enjoy in life. Um, I think I really do enjoy trying to learn and know more. And if I do have what I feel is some knowledge in certain areas to try to pass that on to people, I also enjoy trying to urge people to have uncomfortable but needed conversations. I think there's a lot out there that people, like we talked about, pretend to be tough or feel that they have to avoid talking about certain things when we could all get to know each other better if we were just brave enough to bring up these subjects and, as we stated before, listen to folks when they speak. So I don't know where that would lead me career wise, but those are the kind of the things I enjoy.
I'm trying to think you could be, like a really good psychologist or going into
Or
school.
maybe not a good psychologist.
Or maybe not a good.
Be a psychologist, but not a good one. Maybe that. Maybe there's that.
I think you're doing what you're doing is great for you, and I feel like, and you bring your interest and enthusiasm and sort of your passion for it, just sort of that constant improvement, to the world.
Very nice thing to say. Thank you.
As at the world as it is, in the job that you have, many jobs, all the many hats of John Cena. Okay, from San Benito, Texas, Santana says, "What's your favorite Hot Wheels car?"
What is my favorite Hot Wheels car? I remember this one vividly. I had a red Oldsmobile 442 that the paint was so shaved off, it was almost steel gray. And the roof had been chopped off, not because of a customization that I did, I think because of overall abuse. But the car just was awesome. I remember the wheels rolling perfectly, and it was like a really original Hot Wheel. It's not like we ever got anything new to play with as kids. So it was like a really recycled old Hot Wheel, but man, it was like the fastest, the smoothest, and the coolest looking. I can still remember the two big hood scoops, and it wasn't super modified either. It was like a stock Oldsmobile 442. And I grew up loving that car and eventually owned a life-size version of it. And it brought me so much joy to be able to drive around town in an Oldsmobile 442, but not as much joy as having the stripped painted red roofless Oldsmobile 442 I did as a kid.
So was it sort of like one of those things where as a kid you could imagine growing up and having this car?
Oh, as a kid, that was
your childhood dream.
That would. As a kid, I didn't think I could find a car like that because it looked so awesome with the staggered mag wheels, and you turned it over and you could see the dual exhaust. Like I didn't know that was attainable, but it would do such cool stuff. Like it would roll in the mud. So like usually the big trucks only roll in the dirt and the mud. It could actually perform off-road quite well, and it could perform on asphalt, and all the flippy tracks we made, it could hang with like the newer Hot Wheels. It was just such a weathered example, but such a tough looking, awesome car that just really looked like it could also go fast. Like I said, I can remember it like it was yesterday.
I feel like we're going to need to bring one into Elbow Grease. I'm seeing this now. I can picture it, coming in with some great advice.
It could be the sage giver of advice, because the Oldsmobile is no more.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
See, ideas come from anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of advice, Ishmael in Monroe, New York says, "What is the best advice you have been given that you still use today?"
Oh, that one's easy. Never give up. Without a second, absolutely. I think a close second is show up early and do your best to work as hard as you can. But never give up. Absolutely. Hands down, flat out. Never give up.
And you never do.
No,
Have you ever given up? Have you ever given up?
I think we all have.
I was going to say, I feel like you wear out on some things, right?
Not necessarily. I think with me, I think it's the realization that I might have thought I was excited about something like this, and then realizing that you're not so excited, because ideas are awesome and creativity is awesome. But to create something of substance from an idea takes hard work. So once you hit that step in the process, if you're not as into it, you're not as into it. And if you continue through that process, the product's probably going to suffer. So if you're passionate about something, like I've been working out since I was 13 and I haven't stopped, I really like it. And my workouts have changed over the years and things have gotten different, but strength has always been, or physical strength has always been a part of my life. And that's something that I'll never give up on. But there are some ideas that I've had, and I think we all go through this, where it seems like a good thing to do, and then you get in the doing of the deed and it doesn't bring you the joy that you thought it would. And that's when it's time to refocus. I wouldn't say give up. I would say refocus. But that's a common practice, and that should be okay.
Well, I think because it's about time. There's only but so much time that you have.
Yeah.
And you want that time spent on the things that you value the most, or that bring you the most, or that you.
One could even talk about like, hey, give up on stop trying to be everywhere at once, because essentially you're being nowhere. Now that essentially is giving up, but it's giving up on the concept that you can be everywhere at once and focusing on being in the now and what you're doing right now. So yes, I have given up, but it's very much a process of a reality check to me on the things that I'm actually passionate about.
And you wouldn't define it as giving up. So I think that's the other piece of it.
Just refocusing a little bit.
Yeah, there you go. That's all. Are you up for a couple of wrestling questions?
Yeah, sure. How much time do we have left?
We have about, let's see, 2:43, maybe about 10 minutes. 5-10 minutes, somewhere in there.
Yep.
And I'm actually going to remind people, since the reason you are here is for Fast Friends.
Yeah, great.
So for people who want a signed copy, you can go to premiercollectibles.com/fastfriends. And I think it is on the screen as well, even though I can't see it. It is on there for you guys. So a few wrestling questions.
Yes.
From Cheyenne, Wyoming, Bill says, which wrestler do you wish you had the opportunity to wrestle against?
I want to show that as a signed copy. Which wrestler do I wish I had the ability to wrestle against? For a while, I really wanted Stone Cold Steve Austin to have a match, just because I really think we come from two different periods in time, and the audience of many ages would enjoy seeing something like that. Nowadays, with so many new superstars, I think the possibilities are limitless. And as the WWE moves forward into its next phase of identity, there are new names and new faces trying to kind of stake their claim and define who they are. And like I said, as a storyteller, I love playing a part of that story. I really loved what I was able to do at WrestleMania and the imaginative path I was able to take with a situation like that. So I don't know. If it wouldn't be Austin, that would be like my number one choice. I think I would be excited about anyone.
Open for the possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is storytelling. I love it because the WWE is, we were talking about world building with elbow grease. That's a world.
Yeah. And
as you said, like it transitions and changes and new people come in.
Yep.
So I think it's just being that sort of like, it's so exciting that new people are coming in.
Yep.
Okay. From Ryan in Shropshire, you have a lot of British people today.
Well, the WWE is a global brand, and the UK is one of our most, they have one of our most dedicated fan bases. And I want to say a quick hello and thank you to everybody in the UK and surrounding areas who supported the WWE, and especially me over the years. I've run into some pretty hostile crowds over in the WWE UK, but I know it's all for the sake of fun. I think they're one of the best and most electric audiences that we've performed in front of. They're responsible for phenomenons like the beach ball and the "Who Are You" chant, and they really let their voice be heard when we broadcast television or special events from the UK. And I'm very, very thankful because they've given me some really cool moments, just allowing me to be in an audience like that. It's always a wonderful experience going to the UK, and I really hope to be back soon.
I can see that you've had, there's some humor there. I can see that you're thinking of things that you're just.
Well, no, that's really what it's all about. Like I said, we exist to provide escapism, and if on that evening the escapism is the group of people wants to be the energy of the show, that's our purpose. And if the group of people in a juxtaposed environment, Japan is very quiet and very focused on the action on the canvas. And it's not to say that the fans are any less dedicated. They're also very dedicated, but they just take in the experience differently. And I'm a rowdy person who likes to assess the energy around me. So, man, I really do love going to the UK. It's special.
Yeah, well, I feel like, as a performer, you always want to read your audience.
Or just let them know that we hear them and they drive the performance. We're just kind of there.
So to get back to Ryan's question, he said, what was it like working with Undertaker and doing the well-deserved show of respect to him at WrestleMania?
Oh, that's a great question. It was awesome because of, once again, the story. I think if you look back on that, the anticipation of if it could happen, would it happen? And then the sub-story of me attending a WrestleMania as a fan, which I did. I got to see the first 2 hours of WrestleMania that basically ringside, which is an experience I encourage any WWE superstar, if they think they know everything, go out into the seats and watch as a fan. It was such an enlightening experience. I got to meet people from around the world, shared a few frosty beverages with my WWE Universe buddies, and then got to hop the rail and become a real live part of WrestleMania. So it was actually one of my favorites because I got a viewpoint and a perspective that no other superstar would get. I didn't just sit out there for one shot for 2 minutes. I was out there when the doors opened, and I talked to people and signed autographs, so much so that no one else would come up to me after about 60 minutes because I had met everyone. So the cool thing was we all just settled down and sat and watched the event. And it was awesome because I really genuinely got to be a fan. And then, of course, the me being able to perform afterwards, and certainly perform with someone as legendary as The Undertaker, that was also unbelievable. So I really had a fun time.
So I'm going to wrap it up with a book question.
Okay.
Which is, what is your favorite book from your childhood? Since so many kids are going to have elbow grease, one of those elbow grease stories, if not all of them, be their childhood favorite. So what's yours? Yeah.
We mentioned a little bit of something about this. I've loved the Dr. Seuss stuff because it was so whimsical, yet there was always gadgetry involved. Green Eggs and Ham, the Lorax, books like that. I liked the quasi-realistic approach to reality. Whimsical characters, speaking a language that I understood, using objects that I had no clue what they did, but they kind of did something that I also understood. And how could they have been built in these big, elaborate mousetrap type contraptions to be built to do something? I did enjoy that. But Cars and Trucks and Things That Go is the book that stands with me and stays with me. And that's a book that I read, but was also read to me at an age that I don't have many memories from. I think of things I can remember of me sub 5 years old, and I don't have much. I have to refer to a bigger source. I have to ask my mom and dad what I was like and kind of take their word for it. I remember that book being read to me, and I couldn't have been more than 2 years old. So it's literally, it is the earliest memory I have.
So everything from, I just think of that has the pickle car. There's so many.
And that's the thing. There's so,
reality and unreality.
Animals driving cars where it doesn't make sense, but it does make sense. And it was awesome. And I think, one could probably sit on a couch and pay a professional to say, well, that's kind of where my obsession with the automobile and all things moving started. And, thank you and shame, because now I'm obsessed. But no, it literally is one of my earliest memories.
Well, we are so happy that you have written these books and that you're sharing. I feel like you're sharing so many parts of yourself in each of these stories. So we really, really appreciate it. And thanks so much for doing this today.
No, it's been a pleasure. I want to thank everyone who's already supported all the Elbow Grease books. And man, we're off to a tremendous start with Fast Friends, which means you guys absorb the material and you like it. And if you like this one a lot, I'll get to do another one. So I'm really crossing my fingers, and I'm very grateful for your support. Thank you so, so much.
All right. Thank you, John. Bye.
Hi.
I am sitting here with the one and only Jackie Chan, global superstar, and he is signing all of these books. Are your hands tired?
No, tired, but I'm happy.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm
really,
so
really happy.
to hear that.
How do you feel?
Good. I'm excited. This is the first time I've done something like this before, a live signing.
Where do I want to go that I've never been? Oh, we're thinking about, not thinking, we're putting it in motion. I'm going to go to Indonesia on my Irresponsible tour this year. I'm excited about that. I've never been. And there's been a heavy demand for me there. So we're going to go. We're going to go to Indonesia, and I'm going to make people laugh in Indonesia. That's how I roll. How do you roll? I can't make this up. Wayne, you got your Indonesia pants? I decided it about a good 3 weeks ago. You'll see it on the schedule soon, so I suggest you go get your pants for Indonesia, because you're not going to wear them stupid pants. Where do you think Indonesia is? India. Yes, we out.
You can see that I'm signing it. This is not some machine scribbling my name. This is my actual human body scribbling my name. So, all right, there we go. First book, signed.
We have fans from all over who have written questions that they want to ask you.
Oh, dear.
And they're also going to get signed copies of the book. We're so excited.
Yeah.
So you ready to jump into some
Yes,
questions?
yes.
Hey, we're live at the live signing.
To my mind, the successful feeling at the end of a book is not that you have done everything you could with the book, but that you scratched the surface.
So it was a wonderful, experience and a wonderful discipline in storytelling.
I'm going to start signing right now. I guess I'll sign in red. You know, red. I'm a Delta. Red.
Can you guys see that? See? There's a little smudge right there. So if you see a little smudge, that means Charles jumped on the book as I was signing it.
I don't mind doing signings because people really love a signed copy of a book. I know I do. I will sometimes sign a book to myself.
You were only 7 weeks old, and ABC really wanted to get the new host in that seat and get things going. And I said, but I'm breastfeeding. And by the way, that was at a point like in 1979, coming up on 1980, you really weren't even allowed to say breastfeeding on the air.
I feel like this is something we kind of all need right now.
My life changed after my leg was broken in 1985. My world changed. I had the world by the tail. I had every material thing you could possibly hope for going for you in your life. And then all of a sudden, bang, in one instance, it was gone.
The only thing that matters is the love you give and the love you allow yourself to receive.
I'm healthier than I've ever been, only because I got healthy when I was like 40. Thank you so much.
Got it. Hi there. You probably recognize this guy. I'm Ned Rust. I'm his publisher, James Patterson here, the #1 best-selling author in the world. And
Did you just make that up?
I did some research before I got here today.
We are doing my virtual live book signing.
Live book signing.
This is crazy.
More and more authors are doing this. I think it's so cool.
Signing some of the signed copies that you guys can get at premiercollectibles.com.
You're going to be signing these books live over the next 45 minutes.
Hey, what up, this
I'm watching myself. Look at that. I need to stop.
If you're OCD, how is this panic-inducing to
They're
you?
not
Like
watching
all
anymore.
these.
They've got a bag.
Yeah.
They've got a bag.
I'm inspired by your success. What advice do you give someone who's never found his passion?
Hi, I'm Judge Janine Pirro. You probably heard of my book, Liars, Liberals, and Leakers. I may look like Greg Gutfeld, but I'm not actually. This is so exciting. My 8th book, The Gutfeld Monologues, is out. This is fantastic. If you haven't purchased it yet, you're dead to me. But you still have time to reanimate and become my best friend.
Biggest pet peeve? Men that talk to me with spinach in their teeth.
What can I do while at work to help lower my stress and improve my health?
One musician do you most admire?
I love you all, and we'll talk again soon. Take care.
Bye.
Much love. See ya.
See you soon,
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
We'll see you around the world. Woo!
Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone here.
Bye, guys.
Say goodbye, Mary.
See you in the morning.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm gonna go get drunk.